Everything is your fault. Everything is your fault. Imagine that I told you that everything that you've ever done, the situation that you're at the moment, and everything you're feeling at the moment, and everything that you will feel and everything that you will do, it's all your fault. What would you do if I told you that? Now, even if you don't believe this is true, I want you just to play along with me and imagine that everything that's happened to you in the past, and exactly where you are in life, your situation, your job, your family, your friends, your career, it's all your fault. It was all down to you. How does this make you feel? Because even if you don't logically agree that every single thing that's happened to you and every single thing that will happen to you is your fault, then the emotional response to me telling you this should tell you the direction that you should take your life in. Because when I tell you that the position that you're at the moment is all your fault, if you feel negative and you think, damn, what am I? What have I done with my life? Then that's a guide, a pointer. Use emotions to point you in the right direction. Because if you feel upset and you feel like you've wasted your time, because if in reality everything is your fault and you're not happy with where you are, then that's your fault. It's your fault that you're not happy with where you are. Use that emotional response to let you know what you need to do in the future. Because this whole concept of everything is your fault and extreme ownership of your life comes from a Navy SEAL called Jocko Willink, and he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership. And he starts off this book by telling a story of how when he was at war and he was the leader of his platoon, there was this mishap and there was all this confusion, and the result of it was a man-on-man murder. A US soldier killed another US soldier. There were so many mistakes, so much confusion going on in this one battle that the US Marine got confused and he ended up shooting one of his own teammates. And of course this was a huge deal, and the leaders of the army came down and they went all the way to where Jocko Willink was and his platoon was, and they came to find out what went wrong so they could stop this from ever happening again. And in the meeting, the high up guy said, whose fault was this? And at first one man raised his hand and he said, it was my fault. I was the one that shot our own soldier. It was my fault that this man, our own teammate, died. But then another man put his hand up and said, no, it's not your fault. It was my fault. It was my fault because I didn't warn you that we were approaching and you didn't recognize that it was actually your own team in the building when you shot him. It was my fault. And one by one, men raised their hands and they said, no, it was my fault. But at the end of the day, Jocko Willink was the leader. It was his fault. So he shut down his ego. He raised his hand and he said, no, I am the leader. It was my fault. And he was expecting the higher up people to fire him. It was the leader's fault that one of their own teammates died. Of course he's gonna get sacked. But no, they respected him for taking that ownership. And you've got to take that ownership in your life. And since I started taking ownership in my own life, everything's changed ever so slightly. When you become the leader of your own life, your destiny is in your hands. You control where you are. You control how you feel. It's this empowering feeling because you're no longer the victim. So many of us play the victim in life. We say, it's my boss's fault. It's my family's fault. It's my parents' fault when they got divorced. It was my dad's fault when he hit me. But you need to stop playing the victim. Take ownership for your life. Take ownership for your decisions. Because in Stoicism, there's this idea of the dichotomy of control. And this dichotomy of control states that there are some things in life that are within your control, that you can control, that you can affect. And there are other things in life that you cannot control, that have no influence. You can't control them at all. Now, there's been some confusion, and they say that there's actually a trichotomy of control instead of a dichotomy. There's some people that say no, there's some things that you don't have complete control of, but you do have some control over. For example, the perceptions of other people, how other people view you. Yes, you can control how you come across to them, you can control how nice you are to them, but no, you can't control their overall opinions with you. If you're trying to shoot a rabbit, you can control how much practice you do and how calm you are in the moment, but you can't control the movement of the rabbit. But in the reality, the Stoics didn't mean that there are some things that you kind of control inside and the kind of things that you can't control. Of course they knew this. They want you to break down the things that you kind of can control and kind of can't control into the things that you can only control and the things that you only cannot control. They say that when you're talking about the rabbit, don't just say that, no, I don't have complete control, but neither do I have complete uncontrol. There are some aspects that you do control and some aspects that you don't control. And the Stoics want you to break it down into what you can control and what you can't control. There's no trichotomy of control. It just breaks down the bigger things into exactly what you can completely control and exactly what you cannot completely control. But you've got to use this principle of the dichotomy of control to use everything that you can control aligned with your end up goals. You want everything that you can control aligned with fulfillment or your end of life goal, because you must do and believe that which will get you closer towards your goals. And this is a quote from Bilyeu. You must do and believe that which will get you closer towards your goals. And having extreme ownership is a belief that will get you closer towards your goals, because it's an empowering belief. And even if you don't think it's logically true, you must convince yourself of this. Convince yourself that you can control everything in your life, that you can control how you end up in life. Because in reality, you can control your destiny through hard work, through reading books, through doing all of the things that you know you should be doing. You can control your own destiny. And this whole idea of you must do and believe that which will get you closer towards your goals. There are some beliefs that you must take that may not be completely logically true, but will benefit you on your path. For example, imagine that you are the best football player in the world, and everyone tells you that you're the best football player in the world. You must have the belief that there is so much more that you can learn. Because if you let your ego get trapped up with you being amazing, you will no longer let yourself learn even more. If you're the best footballer in the world, you must believe that there's so much more you can learn. And it's the same with no matter who you are, no matter what topic you're in. The more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know. And that's a belief, that's an empowering belief that will get you closer towards your goals. So recognize whatever beliefs and whatever actions that you must take to get you closer towards your goals. That is what you must do, and that is what you must believe. But how do you believe things that aren't logically true and things that aren't intuitively understanding for you? How do you believe something that you don't believe at the moment? How do you change your belief system? Because there's reality, then there's your perception, and then your emotions. And your emotions are affected by your perceptions of reality. Your emotions are affected by your perceptions of the world going on around you. And you can change these perceptions. You can change this thing in the middle of reality and of your feelings. You can change your perceptions. But how do you change your perceptions? Well, you get what you focus on. So focus on what you want to get. Because if you want to believe why? You've got to look for all of the evidence. You've got to focus on the evidence that supports belief why. And if after time that you keep forcing yourself to focus on this belief and the evidence that supports this belief, you'll end up believing it. For example, as a scientific experiment, one day I decided on my desk I would put up a mirror in front of my desk. And every time I looked in the mirror, I would tell myself, you are the most handsome man in the world. And I did this multiple times a day as I was sitting at my desk, and every time I looked up in the mirror, I forced myself to focus on this belief. And with time, I almost started to believe it. Me. Look at me. I somehow managed to convince myself that I was the most attractive man in the planet. And that's the power of your perceptions. We're the only animal ever that can do that, and it's incredible. The core message I want you to take away from this is have extreme ownership of your life. Now, one of the things that you need to have extreme ownership is you've got to stay calm no matter what's happening around you. If your boss is shouting at you, you've got to stay calm. If you're in chaos and you've got a deadline and you're going to have to stress and work every single minute until you get this deadline, you've got to stay calm. If you've got a checklist in front of you and there's thousands of things that you've got to be doing, you've got to stay calm. So I came up with a complete book, a short ebook, giving you the Stoic principles, the Stoic steps that you need to take if you want to stay completely calm, in complete equanimity, no matter what happens around you. And if you want that, you've got to click the first link in the description. Go and click that now, because that will tell you the complete guide to staying calm no matter what happens around you. If you enjoy these sorts of videos, then make sure to comment what sort of videos you want me to make. What Stoic concepts do you want me to talk about? Do you want me to talk about stories in my life and how I applied that to Stoicism? Let me know in the comments. I want you to comment after you've gone and downloaded that ebook in the first link in the description. I want you to comment what you want me to do. But my name's been Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.